great state of Wisconsin. We want to talk about the threat of World War III, as we did last time. Now, of course, we have this New York Times story.
You were listening to the Mark Petroni radio program, heard exclusively on News Talk Saga 960.
And we're back with more News Talk Saga 960, the Mark Petroni Show. Appreciate you tuning in to this Monday, the November the 25th edition. Miles Kristen joining us from the great state of Wisconsin. We want to talk about the threat of World War III, as we did last time. Now, of course, we have this New York Times story that suggests that there was discussions around giving Zelensky, the Ukraine, nuclear weapons. Well, if they had already done that, then I think we'd already be into a global shooting war. Thankfully, that hasn't happened yet, but you never know. With Biden on his way out, he may just decide, yeah, let's do it. Anyway, Miles, welcome to the show.
I was actually thinking about doing interviews on the street about that exact issue a week ago as satire, maybe even asking people on the street what would they think if, Biden's announced that we're sending 100,000 troops to Ukraine. Like, what people on the left, so many of them, they don't care about this war, this conflict. So many of them are way more focused on the situation in Gaza, Palestine, all of that. I definitely think that, it's obvious that there are people in Washington, not even sure exactly who, but there are people in Washington who would rather start a nuclear war than allow Donald Trump to become president again. And what I'm seeing right now is this insane level of propaganda, specifically towards people like Tulsi Gabbard, trying to make these claims about her and meeting with Assad, which gets into this whole thing about Syria and what really happened in Syria during that whole uprising, saying that she made false claims that it was a false flag attack by rebels and that we're supposed to just believe that Assad gassed his own people. And so there's just so much propaganda being thrown at her and also, a lot of rhetoric about Joe Rogan, because Rogan came out and said F you to Zelensky. And, people got to realize, like, Zelensky canceled his elections. I'm trying to think, there's a word for a politician who stops his country from having elections and, is obsessed with getting money on profit off of this destruction. The last thing I just say real quick is it's just, watching this footage of these men in these battlefields in Ukraine and Russia, and I saw some raw footage of it and watching drones like zooming up on people close and bombing them. And it's just the sadness of just, you got to be sad for these Russians and these Ukrainians and dying on both sides on these battlefields. And of course the civilians too. And it's just like all this anti-Putin propaganda, which, Putin's a bad guy. Absolutely. He's evil and so forth. But just this idea that, well, Putin's bad, so it doesn't matter how many Russians die is just insane.
So is Trump going to be able to get through his selections? Because you've got, I guess, a couple of rhinos, the usual suspects, Collins in Maine and Murkowski in Alaska, these people. But apparently there's the Pennsylvania Democrat, John Fetterman, who says he may vote in favor of some of these selections. Do you think Trump is going to be able to get somebody like Tulsi Gabbard through? I hope that succeeds, because I like Tulsi Gabbard a lot. She's a former Democrat, for crying out loud, but they hate her as much as anybody. Do you think that the Senate is going to approve these selections? I guess there's 15 of them, right? He has made cabinet selections.
I think he'll be able to get his. I think he'll be able to get his cabinet members and so forth through the same as, he's able to get a Supreme Court justice through. I think it's also very odd, some of the people he picked, Rubio, and now this Surgeon General. And, there's a few of them where I'm just like, why would that person be picked for this? It shows that maybe he's having some of the same problems he had with his last administration of picking maybe not neocons, but people that aren't his brand of politics,
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are concerned about the Rubio pick, but he's in there. Maybe he's throwing a bone to the deep staters. I have no idea. But they're the ones who wanted a color revolution in Syria. They wanted to get rid of the leader over there, Assad, and they never got their way. And of course, they're going to blame Russia for that. And if they can make Tulsi look bad, like she's fraternizing with the Russians, then and actually Hillary Clinton herself said that Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset. I mean, it's just absolute madness. It's good. I mean, is Trump even going to make it to January the 20th? I sure hope so. I've noticed he's not being out in public. He knows that they might take another shot at him. There's already 2 assassination attempts that we know of. I mean, you got to figure that they're going to try to get him before that date. What do you think?
I mean, I think that there is some sort of, I don't even know if I'd call it the deep state. I mean, there is some sort of shadow government of sorts. And it's obvious that they were behind 1, if not 2 of the assassination attempts. And also there was that whole incident in Phoenix where like half the people behind him had this, what seemed like some sort of a chemical agent that caused them to go to the hospital. That only made like local news in the Phoenix area where it happened. But the same people that have tried to take him out are the same people trying to create and intensify this war with Ukraine and Russia. And so I don't put anything past the people that want to stop him. That isn't to say that I even like him. And there's a lot of people, too, that like we don't like Trump, didn't vote for Trump, maybe don't like the Democrats either. But, I mean, just sitting back and watching this whole thing going, like, what is it about him that is so angers them so much? And in the end, it's in big part because of the fact that he doesn't want to start major wars. I mean, that isn't to say that he didn't support the Saudi Arabians in their fight with Yemen or some other smaller conflicts. I mean, he's got his standpoints on Israel and Palestine. I mean, he's not completely anti-war, but Donald Trump does not want to get the United States in a major war where soldiers being sent off to die. He doesn't want to get us in the middle of a nuclear war. And even when I talk to a lot of hardcore lefty people, I'm like, but the saving grace is he's not this warmonger. And they go, yeah, that is true. And it just, here's what I would say. It's like the world is at a casino and America is at the roulette table. And basically we got the little ball spinning on the roulette table and it's going red, black, red, black, red, black, because the chips are on the table, everybody. And it's like we are having one of 2 things in a couple months. It's either over the next couple months, it's either nuclear war or Donald Trump goes back to the White House. And we're just sitting there watching that little ball spin because that is the moment we are in. And it doesn't matter if you put the chips on the table or not. We are all sitting back watching that thing happen.
Yeah, and the people in charge right now, at least until Trump comes in, they know they've committed terrible crimes, and they worry that once Trump gets in there, that they're going to have to pay for those crimes, hauled off in cuffs. The people who went after Trump with lawfare, those types of individuals, the people who were part of that campaign to try and throw him in jail before so that he couldn't run. I mean, those people, as Don Jr. pointed out, they should be looking for another country to live in that doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States. Last word to you, my friend.
If Trump is able to walk back into the White House and they start investigations into the last administration and a lot of these politicians and a lot of things they did, I don't know if people will go to jail, but there'll be a lot of criminal stuff uncovered if they start investigating. That is for sure.
Miles Christen, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate that.